Received a copy of the minutes of the previous meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ivy and second by Commissioner Adams. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion, minutes are approved. Announcements, have several announcements. We are going to be doing what we call county conversations. It can be a series of 4 meetings, 1 in each district. The first one is going to be February 3rd at Mugley's in Rehoboth. The second is going to be February the 6th at Walton Park. That's in District 1. February the 11th will be at Pilgrim Home Baptist Church, which is in District 4. And on February the 13th, we'll have the final one, which will be at the Farm Center, which is in District 2. All times are going to be 6 to 7 p.m. We're going to have representatives from Road and Bridge there. The probate judge is going to be there. I know the sheriff is going to be at 2 of them personally. I think Chief Deputy is going to fill in for the first 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And then the Revenue Commissioner will also be there. So I know Road and Bridge is going to have some information about roads that they're going to be resurfacing this year. So a lot of good information. Invite the public to join us if they are willing. It's just going to be kind of very informal, come and go. Not going to be the traditional town hall style, so no one's going to feel like they're hostage. You just kind of come, make your voice heard, and then leave if you want to. So, I also want to commend the county as a whole, and this goes not just for the departments, but also for the public, because I think we did a pretty good job handling the snow, given the fact, I think I read somewhere, this is the most snow we've had since the 1880s. Maybe somebody will correct me on that. It was a lot of snow. I know Road and Bridge, I was constantly on the phone with Barkley. And I think they even got out some motor graders and scraped some ice later in the week, some stubborn areas. I know the sheriff's department, I talked to him a couple of times. They had deputies stationed throughout the county. EMA director, Mark Powell, is on the phone with him extensively, and a lot of information sharing. We shared a lot of information primarily on Facebook, which seems to be the most effective channel of communications these days. I know the media picked up on a lot of the things that we shared, and I think the public did a pretty good job not getting too stir crazy. I know we wanted to kind of get out and about. The only thing that I wish we'd have done a little bit better job of is having some of the businesses not open up quite as early on Thursday and Friday. It's easy to say, but I know in some industries like hospital and nuclear plant, I mean, you can't shut those down. So I get that, but I wish some of the other companies may have delayed opening, but I get it. We all have to be productive, and it's easy to sit up here and say it. It's another thing to have to live it, when you're the business owner. So I know the sheriff's department and several others were helping motorists that had found their way into the ditch because of some black ice. But anyway, all in all, I think we handled it pretty well. And I just want to commend law enforcement, Road and Bridge, EMA, public, just everybody in general on handling that situation. And thank goodness we didn't have a lot of ice, because then that would have been a disaster. So thank goodness for that. The state of the city and county presentation has been moved. We were supposed to do that on Thursday. That got canceled, obviously, because of the weather. So that has been moved to February the 6th at the Chamber of Commerce at 7:30. And so the mayor, Saliba, and I will both be there for dueling presentations, so to speak. Also want to recognize a few people that unfortunately passed away. John Summerford being a community leader out in the Ashford community. I felt we need to recognize his passing. And then we lost an employee as well last week, Joe McLean. Did I pronounce that correctly? Joe McLean, worked in county buildings. So his loss, I know, will be felt as well. And certainly hate to lose anybody. But anyway, just wanted to pause for a moment and recognize those great individuals that we lost.
Add one to that, Chairman. One of the legends from this park also passed away yesterday. O.W. Roney, which was the chief of police down in Gordon for numerous years. I got word a while ago that he had passed away over the weekend.
I hear that as well. Any other announcements?
Yes, sir, Chairman. 2 weeks ago tonight, 2 weeks ago, there was a 12-car wreck on 84 right there close to my home. And I want to recognize the Ashford Volunteer Fire Department and Cowards. They stayed out to 4:30 in the morning to get this done. There was somebody lit a fire and zero visibility through that part. And and to Barkley's credit, I called him at 12:34 in the morning to bring a backhoe to be able to bury the fire where we could dip and we would have been out there again. It wasn't going away if they hadn't come out and done it, but I wouldn't recognize Ashford and Cowards. Like I said, someone was there at 4:30 in the morning and your guys was there to 3:30 or 4, wasn't it? Thank y'all for what y'all do and everyone.
Thank you for the reminder. I had completely forgotten about that with the weather that we had. But yeah, that was a major event. Appreciate you guys getting out there and get work.
It's a wonder that they was not and a county individual broke his leg in the wreck. It's a worse. Oh no, it should have been worse. Them semis done an awesome job of stopping. I mean, it's a wonder that they didn't, because when I say zero visibility, you couldn't see yourself when I pulled out my driveway.
That's pretty bad.
It was.
Yeah. All right. We will move on to awards and presentations. I'm going to call up EMA Director Mark Powell to kind of give us a recap and some lessons learned from Snowmageddon 2025.
Good morning. So really what I'd like to start by saying is that, you know, when this started to come up in the Weather Service, and even with typical weather events, I say typical like a tornado severe weather event, we're knowing at least a week out, and you start seeing those numbers, and there was numbers all over the map, you know, on social media from 10 inches to 15 inches to 2 inches. So once the Weather Service, and then that's our really solid, reliable source, is starting to say 2 and 4 and 6 inches, then I start to think from my perspective is that I say, okay, well, I want to know from them, when's the last time this happened? And they couldn't really give me an answer. I asked that on a webinar. I said, so when does this happen before? We got to get back with you. So I was like, okay, that makes you start to think, because you always want to, in my position, you always want to compare and say, okay, well, if I've never been through it, how did somebody else deal with it? Or what did they do in that respect? So the best way I can describe it, the response was when I was a firefighter, we would be inside of a house and it would be too dangerous. The incident commander outside would say it's too dangerous to be in there. The roof is collapsing, and they would pull us out to a safe location. So it was just pretty much a protect in place kind of situation. Tell people to stay off the road, stay where they're at, advise them to stay off those roads. And like you just mentioned, echoing your statements, is that for the most part, people did listen. And I think that really helped. Is that, to me, the messaging worked this time, coming from the Weather Service. Like you mentioned, the city, county, volunteer agencies. We even had volunteer agencies go into a structure fire Tuesday night, and something you never would think to say in Houston County, Alabama, which is whiteout conditions. And I have a video of it where you couldn't see from me to you from just driving. So something like that, where they were able to do that. Also, another piece was the warming shelter downtown, which saw around 60 residents at one point. So that was something that we were coordinating. And it went from just, we're going to run from Sunday to Thursday because of weather. Now it was a 7-day warming shelter, which is unprecedented. That's something we've never done before for that long of a period. Coordinating volunteers and meals and those other volunteer agencies was pretty challenging, but, I thought it was very successful. And again, to me, the Weather Service, they're not always perfect, but they pretty much got it right. We had, I think in Pansy was the biggest number at 8 inches, but they had projected up to 6 or more. So they knew that. And really, another bit of advice they gave me, because again, it's not something we deal with, is the more snow, the better. Meaning, yes, we're going to have ice on the roads, but the more snow, the less ice. So that actually helped us a little bit, even though we eventually had ice on the roads. Had we had something lower, a lower snowfall total, like 2 inches, we'd have had more ice on the roads for longer periods of time. Even though Barkley just said we still had ice on the roads till Friday. So we could have had it even longer had it been lower snow total. So I felt like that was something that really, really went well. And then again, social media really helped this time. Before I started this job, I'll be honest with you, I was not a big social media person and I had to learn very quick that that's very important. And that type of messaging people do listen to. Okay. Press releases from me, they listen to. Videos we put out, they listen to. So I felt like it was a very good messaging, opportunity in that respect. So overall, I felt like you mentioned, it was very successful, and I don't think there was any major issues. There were some wrecks, and some of that was unavoidable, but I think for the most part, people did avoid the roadways, which is a good thing. From EMA, we were functioning in pretty much a virtual capacity, because my concern was that, just like, the sheriff's deputies and those in police, is that if we get out there or we get in that EOC, we won't be able to leave. And this ties into another issue we had at the warming shelter, which was we had scheduled meals for certain days, like a Chick-fil-A or a Jimmy John's. Well, it got down to that day and that business couldn't open. So even us being in an EOC environment, as Commissioner Ivy has been in, is that we have to have somebody to feed those people. And we could have been stuck literally with no food and nowhere to go. So I felt like our virtual EOC worked, and that communication channels, we just opened up that way. But in that same line of conversation, it's something that I had heard about several months ago, but now I feel like we want to go to is there's technology out there called VOC, virtual EOC, where you can set up where the sheriff's department has a login and Road and Bridge has a login, Dothan Fire, Dothan Police, and we can all punch in information together and all see things at the same time. So that's something I definitely want to look into. I also want to commend IT. They set us up on the new phone system, which was available for us, where all those phone calls we normally would get in the office were on our cell phones. They were tied in that way, even made us pretty much a hotline that people could call in and give us information, as it come along throughout that night. So overall, a great operation. It was one of those things that, how can you prepare for something that's never happened before, is the way I felt, about it, is that, but to me, that stance of encouraging people to stay home, stay off the roads, I feel like it worked. And that was the reason we didn't have, more major incidents.
I agree.
Well, I just want to commend you for your leadership and your staff as well. I think y'all did a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
Any questions for the director?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Mark.
Item number 1 on the regular agenda, moving on to that, is a request to replace a 2021 Ford Explorer and accompanying budget amendment.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ivy and second by Commissioner Adams. Any further questions or discussion?
No, sir.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 2 is a request to approve resolution and order authorizing certain action with respect to general obligation warrants of Houston County, Alabama.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ivy and seconded by Commissioner Adams. Any further questions or discussion on this item?
No, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I was asked to look to verify
Yes.
the rate on that we were quoted, and it was 3.59%.
Oh, good.
Good.
I do not anticipate that rate change before we execute these warrants. I think the Fed was looking, they're meeting tomorrow, I think, or maybe it's today, tomorrow, I believe. But I do not expect a rate change coming out of that Fed meeting.
Good, good. Okay. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion passes. Staff reports. Mr. Chief Administrative Officer.
No reports, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Mr. County Engineer.
Have 3 closed roads, Leo Pines, Crawford, and Harper Joy.
Okay. Mr. County Attorney. All right. Any questions for the staff?
No, sir.
All right. I will entertain a motion this time to adjourn. We are adjourned. Thank you.